Now, for those of you who are still not convinced that audio is an important part of the whole audio-visual experience, this is a simple experiment. Currently, I'm recording my voice via the Synco G2A2 transmitter to the receiver unit that is connected to my Sony camera. So what you're listening to now is being recorded by the onboard microphone of the Synco G2A2. Now, I'm going to be switching over to the onboard camera on the Sony camera itself. And right now, you're listening to the audio from the mic capsule on board the Sony A7C full-frame camera. And this is vastly different in terms of audio quality. So for those of you who are still not convinced that audio is an important part of the whole AV experience, be it whether you are a content creator or a consumer in the form of movies and music, I hope this changes your mind. Today we will be talking about the Synco G2A2, the wireless digital mic system that includes two transmitters with a receiver that will feed the audio directly into your camera or your laptop or your mobile phone for a great audio recording. So I'll quickly talk a little bit about what this whole system is about. This Synco G2A2 is actually a kit that consists of two transmitters, one of which I'm wearing right now, and a receiver. The receiver will take audio from both your transmitters, either in a stereo format, so you can set one of them to the left and the other to the right, or in a sum mono format, so that when you conduct an interview, it doesn't matter who is speaking, it all seems to come from the same center source. Now, the other use case of such a system is that when you're filming outdoor, like I've demonstrated, the mic is actually still close to the subject and not on board the camera itself, because if you're far away and you're using a zoom lens, you're going to be very far away from the subject, and mics don't work very well when they're trying to pick up sound from a distance, unless you're talking about a shotgun mic like this Sennheiser MKE600 here. But if you're not using such a mic, you will do well to have a system such as this where you're able to place the mic very close to a subject. The subject can be walking really far away and it will sound as though you are recording him just right next to him, because the mic is actually on the subject himself. Now, in an indoor environment, instead of setting up two mics, or if you have two condenser mics such as this, you have to set it and mic each of the talent or the subject independently. What you could do is also to use one of these two transmitters, one on each subject, so that you can record them independently. So whether you are vlogging or you're recording an interview, this will work actually very, very well. And the transmission distance, as stated by Synco, goes up to 150 meters line of sight, meaning to say there are no obstructions, no walls in between, no trees, and no power cables. And talking about power cables, overhead interference from wireless systems, they also matter. So if you're out in the countryside, the likelihood is that you're going to be able to hit that distance or even exceed the 150 meters, and the transmitter and receiver will still be in sync, transmitting audio. Now, in less than ideal environments where there is a lot of urban activity, when there are a lot of wireless signals running around, and especially when you're indoor, you are likely to get a lot less. I've tried it in my house, and after a few walls, it actually does get cut off. There's about 3 rooms away, I guess, with 3 walls in between. Now, that particular use case is not actually very common, because if you can't film the subject, why are you recording the voice? It still works, and the wireless transmission to date, throughout this whole video, you will notice that there aren't any drop-off. But of course, that's because I am actually very close to the camera, which the receiver is sitting on top on. Now, let's talk a little bit about voice quality. I have demonstrated to you how this sounds infinitely better than the onboard mic. The Synco G2A2 system actually comes with a mic option, right? This is the mic capsule that is actually on the whole transmitter itself. So you are able to record sound directly into this mic capsule and transmit it to the receiver fed into your camera. Now, the other option that you have is actually to plug in a lavalier mic. So this is the lavalier mic. Now, this lavalier mic is actually provided in the kit itself. It has a relatively long 1.5 meters, about 5 feet cable that you will find it easy to route through your subject. Now, this plugs into the microphone port on the transmitter itself. I'm going to give you a demonstration of how this sounds like. Currently, this transmitter has been set to mute, so you are not actually listening. Try this. So you are not listening to this. You're only listening to the onboard mic on this particular transmitter itself. Alright, so right now you're listening to the Lavalier mic that is being provided by the Synco G2A2 kit, which is plugged into one of the receiver. This is the other receiver that I wasn't using earlier on in the video. You will notice that the Lavalier mic signal is actually a lot hotter and this is a lot louder. The mic is very sensitive, it is omnidirectional, so you will be picking up quite a bit of the surrounding. Now, if you want to try to reduce noise, both of these transmitters actually come with a low cut filter. So a low cut filter, it cuts a wave frequency below a certain kilohertz range. In this particular case, I believe it's about 180 hertz. So let me try to engage it and you'll hear for yourself how this sounds like. Now, this is the low cut filter being engaged, so it cuts away some of the noise from the background, especially the low rumbling sounds that are being produced by either your fan or your air conditioning unit or your heating coil. Now, this is now with the low cut filter turned back off. With the low cut filter turned back off, you will notice that my voice is a little bit deeper, a little bit richer, and you are able to hear that it's a little bit more pleasant, at least to my ears. And it really depends on the subject's voice as well. Some will do well to have a low cut filter applied, some won't actually perform as well with a low cut filter applied. If you're going to be singing, if you're going to be doing any musical form of recording, firstly, I wouldn't recommend this setup at all. You might do better with a wired setup, but if you're going to be doing that with this particular system, I guess you will have to disable the low cut filter. Now, talking about range response and singing, you will notice that in the entire video, there is a slight lip sync issue. So when I'm speaking, the words may not line up and match exactly with my lips. So the lavalier option is one of the ways that you can use the G2A2 microphone. Now, I thought of another very interesting use case, which is why this particular Sennheiser MKE600 shotgun mic is. Now, the Sennheiser MKE600 shotgun mic actually has a battery that you can insert into the body to provide itself phantom power. Now, when you turn it on, it is able to convert that XLR signal into a powered output in a 3.5 mm jack. Now, this 3.5 mm jack is actually a stereo jack, but it does work well with the Synco G2A2, and I'm about to demonstrate that to you. So I will be plugging it into the other receiver, into the mic in jack. Now I will unmute it while I mute the Lavalier mic. So this is the Sennheiser MKE600. Now, it is actually traditionally a wired mic. So what I have actually done is to enable this to pick up the sound from a high quality shotgun mic to be fed directly into the transmitter, which will then transmit wirelessly into the receiver that is mounted on top of the camera. So I can go as far as I want and the transmitter is still staying with me, as well as the shotgun mic, which is being placed in close proximity. And in such case, the sound quality is actually very, very good. What this means is that it opens up the possibility of you actually using any number of mics, high quality or otherwise, with the Synco system, and you will go as far as you want away from the camera as long as it's still connecting to the receiver, and you will be able to get high quality sound into your video. So overall, the recording quality that's being delivered by this Synco G2A2 kit is actually pretty good, on par with a lot of systems out there. But one of the most attractive feature of this particular kit is actually its value. So in this box, the carrying case actually came supplied. When you open up the carrying case, the first thing you're going to notice is that the two transmitters and the receiver are actually being packed individually into the casing. Now, that is all good, but the moment you start opening up what is supplied in the box, I think that was when I started getting mind blown. Now, there is a full color English manual. So for those of you who think that you might struggle with some Chinese instruction, especially if that is not a language that you know, then rest assured that you will be well served with a full English instruction manual, which is actually pretty clear. Now, the next thing that you have to take note is that this particular unit, on both the transmitter and the receiver, it comes with a TFT color LCD screen, which tells you exactly what is the rate, what is the transmission, what is the status, whether the mic is muted, whether the battery levels are there, and the signal levels that are being recorded. So everything is clear, everything is very, very easy to read off the screen. Now, there is a clip at the back which you can then clip onto your shirt for the transmitter, or in the case of the receiver, you are actually able to clip it onto a hot shoe. And this is actually pretty ingenious how this works. Now, this is all it does, and it clips in. And it stays very, very secure, all right? No rattling at all. And this is how it's being mounted on my camera now for the receiver. It also comes with two 3.5mm to 3.5mm phono jack. One of them is a TRRS to a TRS, and this particular cable goes from your computer or from your phone if your phone still has that jack, or you use a USB-C or Lightning to earphone jack converter. The other connector actually is a coil cable, which I'm using now, that plugs into your camera, and that is a TRS to a TRS output jack. And not only that, they supply windshield, this furry windshield that will help you guard against wind sounds when you're recording outdoor in the open, or if you're going to be speaking into the transmitter itself, it helps block out plosives. And it supplies a pair of them. And next, they actually provided two lavalier mics. So this is the other one, and I'm wearing one of them. So there are two lavalier mics that are being provided in the set itself. And on top of that, it still comes with what you see here. This is a USB-A to 3 USB-C charging ports. So what happens is you can charge both the transmitters as well as the receiver, all three of them at the same time, by just plugging it into one USB-A outlet port. So this is actually very flexible. And with all that, it goes neatly into the carrying case. So I'm actually quite happy with this kit. I'm thinking of how I can use this kit, especially if I'm going to be holding interviews or if I were to be shooting outdoor. I'm thinking about a possible use case where I could be shooting outdoor in a wireless audiophile review. But never mind, let me just think of that and I'll find out some ingenious ways to use this. I'll see you very, very soon in my next video.